I know I've been gone for a minute. Sorry about that, but I'm back. For now, I'm back. I moved friends, so that's new, I guess. So I want to put you guys onto something. I've picked up Photoshop recently. Well, recently, I don't know about that. I've been using Photoshop for the last 10 years, roughly, on and off. I don't know if I would consider myself a professional at it, but I don't know. I'm pretty good, I would say. I've been doing some really cool stuff on Photoshop that I wanted to show you. Will this turn into a Photoshop channel? I don't know, it might. But I'm going to show you how I turn this image into, well, 3 different images. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Now this kind of started as an exercise for me, you know, to get my creative wheel spinning a bit, looking at that one image and seeing how I can transform it into different things. So today I'm going to show you how I turned it into a pirate with a little bird on the shoulder. I don't want this video to be too long, so I don't think I'm gonna show you how I did the other ones. I'll leave that for another video. But yeah, today I'll show you how I turn it into that. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording my screen when I did those 3 images, so I don't have like the footage of me working on it, but I'm gonna break it down and kind of show you how I created it, because I think it's really awesome. Okay, so I'm here in Photoshop, and as you can see, I already went in and cut out my subject from the background. So the first thing I did is I went on the internet and I looked for images of some things that I wanted to have, well, in the final image. I wanted her to have a hat. I wanted her to have an eye patch, and I wanted her to have a little bird on her shoulders. And I also wanted the background to kind of be like this dark forest. As you can see right here, she has some blue light hitting her right side and orange light, some like warm light hitting her right side. So I knew it would have to be like a nighttime scene, you know, type thing. So I'm just gonna turn on all the layers without any of the effect. This is with the bird, right? I took a bird image and I cut out the bird. This is the eye patch. I just put the eye patch on there. It doesn't look realistic for now, but stick with me. This is the hat. Now I already cut around the hat so it looks like it's on her head. The necklace, I forgot. Yeah, I also put a little, you know, a little necklace. And the background, there we have it. So there you go, guys. This is the final video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just kidding. So now let's get into blending the image together, right? That's usually how I like to start, by the way. I like to start by having everything on the table, on the plate, and then I mix it together and make it look good. So the first thing I started with was the lady. So what I did is I added a little scar here, like this, because I don't know, she's like a pirate, so maybe she's been in a few battles and a few fights. So it's hiding this like scar that she has on her face. And I also added texture on her cheek to make it look like, you know, maybe it was burned, like she's been through some things, you know, she's been through some things. And I also added this here, which is another scar on her forehead. Now this is just to tell the story that, you know, she's a pirate, she's been in some fights, she has an eye patch, you know, she has a scar. Scars tell stories. The next thing I did was some shadows, right? So as you can see, I added some shadows under the hat. I added some shadows under the eye patch. I added some shadows under her necklace. I even added some contact shadows here for the bird. If I turn it on and off, I added some extra shadows on her shirt because, you know, it kind of gives the shirt more depth. Before, after, you know, it's something I really like to do. Then I added some highlights. If you look on her side here, you'll see some highlights. I'm adding blue highlights because there is some blue light coming in from the left. So I'm adding light wrap. Same thing on the other side. I added some lights. Now, these are solid colors, solid layers that I put in a linear dodge mode or add mode. If you look at her shirt here, some more glow I added here on her shirt. Now the highlights, and this is with the highlights and the glow. As you can see, it really does a big difference. The last thing I added is a touch more of highlights. Not really highlights, but like a glow effect on the highlights. I did it for the blue and for the orange, as you can see. Now, she is good. The bird isn't good though. So we'll get to the hat, the eye patch and all that, but for now, let's take care of that bird real quick. So let me show you what I did. So the first thing I did is to color match it a little bit more. I just darkened the bird. I added some shadows on the bird because the light won't be hitting everywhere. So some parts are gonna have more shadows than some other parts. I brightened the eye of the bird because I was like, it's just an interesting look to have the eye like looking at you and kind of glowing. And then I added more shadows, and these shadows kind of give the wings a 3D look. Like it just gives it more depth. You already know what's missing: highlights. So I added highlights, as you can see here, more highlights. And again, I added a little blue glow to these highlights. And after that, I put a little glow on the eye. And the last thing I did is just some extra shadows that I put on her shoulder, some like contact shadows. All right, so the bird is done. Now let's do the eye patch. And again, you can see I have everything, every layer. I try at least my best to name them, put stuff in groups just to stay organized. Because if you're not organized, it gets really messy. It gets really messy. If you can see here, the eye patch, it has like a white outline. Now this is because I didn't mask it out properly, but I didn't feel like fixing it, so I just made the whole thing darker. So even the white parts are just dark. It looks a little too dark, like there's no details on it. It looks too smooth. It doesn't look realistic. So I added some texture. Now it's really subtle. You might not notice it, or you might, but if I don't put it, then you really notice it. But it's just some little details. So I added some texture. You already know what's missing: the highlights. And these highlights bring out the details even more, right? So this is without and with. So the eye patch, done. Now, the hat. It's really simple. What I did is, well, right now the hat doesn't match. The colors, it's too bright, first of all. So the first thing I did is I darkened it. And then I added some shadows, right? Because not every part of the hat is going to be lit perfectly or evenly. Some parts of the hat are gonna be in shadows. Some parts of the hat are gonna be in light. And then I added some highlights. You know I have to add some highlights, bro. Blue highlights here, orange highlights there, a bigger glow on the blue side. I did the same thing on the orange side. The glow really brings it together. Now the necklace. As you can see, the necklace here, it just looks terrible, right? It's too bright. There's no shadows on it. It's not good. So let's fix that. So as you can see here, I brought down the highlights so that it's not as bright as the other things in the image. I put a brightness and contrast to make it even darker. And then I added some shadow. This part of her shirt would be casting a shadow on the necklace. Her chin would be casting a shadow on the necklace. Yeah, I added another exposure to make it even darker. And then you already know what we add. The highlights, bro. Blue highlights there, orange highlights there, the same old thing. And then a little glow on top of everything. Yeah. So after that comes the background. So let's turn it on. This doesn't look good, right? Obviously, this will be like a night scene, right? Because it's dark. It has some blue light. It's kind of like moonlight. So what I did is I took this image, which is really two different images put together. As you can see here, I blended the image of a forest and an image of the ground of a forest. It's just two images together, and then I blurred it out. I added a Gaussian blur to blur it so that you wouldn't really notice it. Okay, so first thing I did is I added a brightness and contrast to, well, darken the image. Then I added a hue and saturation to make the image bluer and dark. I added some blue fog, as you can see. The fog is like an extra layer to separate the subject from the background, you see? And if I take out the fog, well, it's like, it just looks wrong. It just looks terrible. So the fog is there. And I did the fog with a smoke brush. Look up a smoke brush for Photoshop, download it, install it, and boom. Some glow on the orange and blue. And after that, another exposure, because I felt it was still a little too bright, so I just darkened it a bit. And now my favorite part of the process, which is the last step, and that is adding a camera raw filter. So what I do is I select everything, I make a copy, and then I merge all the copies into one image. And then what I do is I put a camera raw filter on it. So that is with the camera filter. The camera filter, again, is my favorite part of the process. It is the very last part, but it's like the thing I look forward to. Whenever I start making one of these, I look forward to the camera raw filter part the most. So this is how I turned this image of this woman into a pirate. In all, I think this image took me roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours to finish, and I think it came out beautifully. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna make a lot more of these Photoshop videos because I really like Photoshop. And let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Again, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything new. And I'll see you in the next one when I turn this woman into a samurai with a sword so she can stab people and, fight people and all that stuff.